Hello? Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Testing, testing, testing. Okay, it looks like I see the sound on my end. All right, everybody. Wow, that was dealing with some technical difficulties in real time. Sorry about that, everybody. So, everybody, I'd like you to navigate to the link that I've left in chat. I guess you you didn't hear any of my introduction as well. I'm well, that's how it goes sometimes. But thank you very much to everybody in chat for letting me know that we were having audio issues. So let's proceed. So everybody, we're going to be working with our JS Linux as a means of experimenting with the Linux system before we move on to the TryHackMe room today. Like I said, I guess you didn't hear, but if you don't have an account over at tryhackme.com, please make an account before we move on to that portion of the workshop. But I'll try to make this this section brief so that we can have more time with the TryHackMe room. But let's go over a couple of new concepts over at while we're using the JS Linux machine. Okay, so we're going to be using this link to access the JS Linux machine, and the first thing we're going to learn about is about the help flag. So the help flag, which is usually --help, it can be used as part of any command to return a relatively brief explanation as to how to use the command. All right, so let's go over to our JS Linux, and I'm going to try to make this a little bit bigger. Let me just zoom in just a little bit. If I try to zoom in too much, it starts going a little bit weird. But for example, if we have if we use our typical commands like cat, so we could cat this readme.txt file over here. If we wanted to get the help message with the cat command, we can just use cat and then --help. So cat --help is going to give us the help message with this particular command, and it's going to, it says print files to standard out. That's what this does. But we also have a number of flags over here that we can use to modify the output. So that's what happens if we do --help with the cat command. If we use the ls command with --help, then this command is a little bit more complicated. So we see that there's a lot more there are a lot more flags to modify the output as far as the ls command is concerned. But the command over here, it includes the syntax of how to use the command and what the command does. It says list directory contents, which is what it does. So that is the help flag. If you have any questions about how to use the help flag, please type in chat. Otherwise, we're going to move on to the next little concept we have here. So the next thing we need to do to learn is about the man command. So the man command, in which man stands for manual. It brings up the manual document for the command specified in the argument. The documentation is more in depth than the --help flag. So these are two methods you can use to bring up documentation or get help about a particular command. So it's man and then the name of the command. So if we go back to our console over here, we can use man cat. So that's going to bring up the manual for the cat command. So man cat, man not found. Man not found. Oh, you know what? The manual for, okay, so I think I might have we might be using the wrong virtual machine for this. Sorry about that, everybody. Let's switch over to another virtual machine. So we were using the Alpine Linux virtual machine before, but let's use the Fedora Linux virtual machine. The thing about Alpine Linux is that it's very stripped down to save space. So it's missing a couple of features. Let's instead use this virtual machine. I'll leave the link for this new virtual machine in the chat. So this new virtual machine we're going to be using is using Fedora Linux, which is a different version of Linux. So in this case, we should be able to do man cat, and then it's going to give us the manual for the cat command. And this takes a little bit to run. These are not the fastest virtual machines. So we run man cat, and it's going to, and this is the manual page over here. So when you're inside of the manual page view, you can do up arrow and down arrow to scroll up and down. And this is a more in-depth version of the help command. So there's a name, there's a synopsis, which includes the syntax for how to run this particular command. And then it's got a more in-depth version of what the flags, all the different flags do for this command, the different modifications you can do for the command. So some of these the manual pages are quite long, so you can scroll up and down. The important thing to know is that when you're inside of these this manual page, that you can press the Q button to quit out of this. So press Q and then you quit out of here. So that's all you need to know about that. All right, so there's a man page. There's a manual page associated with each one of these commands that we that we've encountered so far. So we can do man ls to see all about the ls command. So I'm just going to bring this up for a little bit, and then we're going to move on to the next thing. So this is the manual for the ls command, and it's like the previous manual command. We see that there's very in-depth documentation for this particular command. So press Q to quit out, and we're going to move on to our next topic. So after the man command is the AND operator. Okay, so the AND operator is used to execute a command as a background process. So whenever you're running your computer, there's a bunch of different programs running in the background. These are called background processes, and this also means that when you run a command as a background process, that means that that you will not be stuck inside of the command while it runs. So there are some commands that are going to take quite a long time to execute fully, and while you're executing the program, you're not able to run commands inside of your terminal. So in order to avoid that, you can run commands that you typically think is going to take a long time as a background process, and that frees up the terminal for you to run other commands at the same time. So what this means that the CLI terminal will be free to execute other commands while the process is running. So let's go back to our JS Linux over here, and so if we were to run a very long command, for example, find. So whenever we run the find command with the entire file system as the target, these kind of commands typically take a long time to execute. So we would find, let's say we were to look for name ShyHat. So we're looking for a file named ShyHat inside of this file system, and this is what this particular command does. So if we were to run this command, after we press enter, then the system would be stuck while this command is running. But we can get out of the stuck a command that's currently running. We can quit out of it with the Control-C keyboard shortcut. Control-C is going to quit out of that. But on the other hand, if we were to run this as a background process by using the AND or ampersand command at the end, that means we're going to run this as a background process, which means that we can run any other command that we want while this is going on. So whenever you do this, run something as a background process, it's going to tell you what the background process number is over here. So in this case, it's 141. And if we were to run the process command, which tells us all the processes that are running, that we would see that that under the process ID number here, 141 is associated with the with this find command that's running right now. Okay, so that is the ampersand command. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So this is the AND operator. The next one is the AND operator. So this is disappointingly has nothing to do with the AND operator, but it is slightly different in that the AND operator is used to execute the two commands to the left and right of the operator, one after the other, but will only execute the second command if the first command executed successfully. So this is how we can. This is a method we can use to run multiple commands inside of Linux. So if we do who am I and pwd, present working directory, it's going to show us that we're the root user, and then it's going to show us that we're in the /root directory in this case. So if we go back to JS Linux, so it's we can do pwd, or maybe who am I, and pwd, so present working directory. This is what is going to happen right here. But an interesting thing about this particular command right here, this particular operator right here, is that the second command only executes if the first command executed without an error. So if we were to cat no file here, so there is no file here called no file here, but if we wanted to and who am I, so who am I is going to execute only if we're able to read this file called no file here. And because we know that this file doesn't exist here because we didn't create it, then this second command is not going to execute. So we also get a status report from the system saying that our find command finished running. That find command that we ran just a few minutes ago. Okay, so that's the and command. All right, the next concept is the greater than operator. So we've been using this quite a bit to write to files with the echo command. The greater than operator takes the output of a command and redirects it into a file. If there is already a file with the same name in the directory, it will be overwritten. Okay, so this is what we can do to create files. Typically, we use the echo command, and then we type something, and then we use the greater than operator and then the name of a file to create a file with this as the contents. So if we're to go back here, so we see here there's let me clear this. So if you use the clear command inside of Linux, it's going to clear the terminal and bring the cursor back up to the top. This is useful if you just want to clear a little bit of space and make your console look cleaner. So we can do echo, and then we can echo test, and then we can use the greater than symbol, and we're going to create a file called test.txt. So this test is going to use the greater than operator to redirect the output into this file right here called test.txt. So after that's done, you see that test.txt has been created, and if you read it using cat, you see that the contents of the file are exactly what was in the echo command over here. But the interesting thing about this particular operator is that if you were to repeat the command, but you were to replace test with something else, test and something else. So if you're using the greater than to, if the using the greater than to redirect into a file, it's going to replace the contents if this file already exists. So if we were to run this, then this test over here would no longer be in test.txt, it would be this right here. So that's the greater than command that is used to redirect output into a file. All right, the next thing we're looking at is the double greater than operator. So the double greater than operator works in a very similar fashion to the greater than operator, but if a file with the same name exists in the directory, then the output is added to the file instead of overwriting the file. So this is typically a much better way to add contents to a file that that you're working with, because it means that you don't have to overwrite anything, and you can just keep on adding to something instead of creating a new thing each time. So if we go back to our Linux terminal, so if we were to use our echo command and we were to use double greater than instead of the single greater than, and maybe we do test 1 and then we do test 2 and then we do test 3. Remember that inside of your typical Linux terminal, your typical command line terminal in general, you can bring up the history of the commands you've been running using the up and down arrow keys. So that is a very easy way to repeat commands that you've used before. So now that we've used the echo command to redirect output into this file over here, test.txt, we can read that, and we see that all the echo output has been appended to the file instead of overwriting the file. Okay, so that's the double greater than operator right there. Next is a command that we may already know already, which is the who am I command. The who am I command is used to return the name of the current user. So typically on Linux systems, there are more than one user. There's more than one user account, and knowing which user account you're running in the context as is a very important thing, because most user accounts only have access to certain portions of the file system, aside from the super user, which is the root user account. So over here you can use the who am I command. Is going to tell you that you're root. So in this particular system, by default we are running as the root user, which has access to the entire file system. But on a lot of different Linux file systems, you're going to be running as a lower privileged user who doesn't necessarily have access to very much of the file system, just their own files. All right, so the next concept is the touch command. Okay, so the touch command is used to create empty files with the file name specified in the argument. So if you want to create some files that are just to say that the files exist, but they don't necessarily have any content, you're going to want to use this touch command right here. So if we go back to our terminal, let me clear this out. So using the touch command, we can use touch and the name of a file that doesn't exist, or we can use a file that does exist. But touch is usually used to create empty files. So maybe touch my file, and then we take a look at the contents of the directory, and then my file exists here now because we just used touch to create it. But as you can see by this column over here, it has 0 bytes, which means that it is an empty file. So that's the touch command. Touch is used to create empty files. So another very useful command that we use all the time inside of Linux is the make directory command. So mkdir, I usually just call it the make dir command. The make directory command is used to create a directory with the directory name specified in the argument. So Karu747s, can you only create .txt files, or you could also create other file types like docx? So are you talking about using touch, or by using the redirect, the greater than symbol? So basically, different file types are created with different programs, but by default, what you're creating are text files, files that contain human readable strings. But generally, .docx files are created by specific programs. So if you're dealing with Microsoft Word, that would be used to create .docx files. So the make dir command is used to create empty directories. So we, if you've been keeping up with with our picoctf extra credit classes, then you'll have seen that we use the make directory command quite often to create environments for our CTF challenges. So if I were to use the mkdir command to create sample directory, so this command is going to create a directory called sample directory. And if we take a look over here, then sample directory has been created. And in this particular shell, they color the directories a different color than the regular files over here. Okay, so that's so an interesting thing to note about the make directory command is that by default you can only create directories one level deep. But if you use a modified version of the command, you can create directories within directories within directories as well. All right, so going back. So we have the copy command, cp copy command. It copies files from one directory to another. So the first argument is the file to be copied, and the second argument is the directory the file is to be copied to. So let's go back to our terminal. So copy. So we have our file called test.txt. If we wanted to copy test.txt to sample directory, this is the syntax we would use to do that. So copy the name of the file, and then the directory to copy it to as the second argument. So if we were to run this, then we were to take a look inside the sample directory, we would see that the test.txt copy was copied over to the sample directory over here. Okay, so we also have another command called the move command. So the move command, mv, is used in a similar fashion to the copy command, except that the original file will not remain in its original directory. So this command is also used for modifying the names of files. So let's go back over to. So we know that we copied. So Adu level 7 just subscribed on YouTube. Thank you very much. You are now a HackerFrog. Nice. Okay, so we're talking about the mv command, move command. So if we wanted to do mv test.txt and we want to move it over to sample directory. After we run this command, then test.txt will no longer be in this directory because the move command it moves the files over instead of just copying them. So after we run this command, test.txt will no longer be here. So we run this, and then we take a look at the contents of the directory, and test.txt is missing, but it is in the sample directory over here. So we're going to move into the sample directory for just a second to demonstrate the other use of the mv command, the move command. So if we were to do mv test.txt, and then we were to supply not the name of a directory, but just another file name. So in this case, this mv command is going to take this file and it's going to rename the file into this. So test.txt becomes new test.txt. So we're going to run this, and then we see that new test.txt is here and test.txt is gone. All right, so that's the mv command. So if you, as usual, if you have any questions about any of the commands that we're running, about the syntax or how this is done, first I would encourage you to try messing around inside of the Linux terminal to see if you could. I tend to learn best when I'm able to experiment with any particular new environment, especially when it's when we're talking about working inside of the command line interface. But if you have any questions about any of the commands that we're running, please let me know, and I'll try to answer your questions as soon as possible. Okay, so this is this next command is a command you have to be careful with because this is the remove command. So the remove command is going to delete files. The rm command is used to remove files from the file system. So directories cannot be removed using this command unless the -r switch is used. So removing files inside of the Linux file system, it doesn't ask you if you're sure you want to do something first. So there's no recycling bin inside of Linux. So if you delete something that you don't mean to delete, then you are out of luck because it's deleted forever. So just be careful with this command. So it's rm and then the name of the file or directory. So if we were to go over to our directory over here, so we're in the sample directory and we have new test.txt. If I were to rm new test.txt, then it's just going to be gone. And it's no longer here. So I use this command over here, cd ... to move up one level in the directory listing. So this is how we back out of a directory. So if I go to sample directory, then I'm inside of sample directory. If I want to back out, I can use cd ... So cd ... is going to bring me up one level in the file system. And now I see that I'm no longer in the sample directory over here. So what I want to demonstrate is using rm to delete directories. So rm with the -r flag can be used to delete directories. So if I try to do it without the -r, then it's not going to let me. It's going to say it cannot remove sample directory. It's a directory. But if I give the command with -r, then it's going to let me delete the directory. So that's the rm command. So just remember that the rm command should be used very carefully. All right, so let's move on to the TryHackMe room. So now that we've had some time to practice some of some of the commands we're going to be using in the TryHackMe room. Let's move on over there. So I'm going to give you the link to the room. Please make your way over to the room. Let me search it up real quick. So this one is going to be Linux Fundamentals Part 2. And I will paste the link into the chat. So everybody, while we are all moving, logging into TryHackMe.com and moving over to the Linux Fundamentals Part 2 room, we're going to run a short commercial break over on Twitch. If you are watching on YouTube, you will not see the commercial break. But since I'm running my channel over on Twitch, I kind of need to run these commercials every once in a while so that they don't pop up randomly for everybody. So everybody, please make your way over to the TryHackMe room at the link that I provided in chat. We're going to take a 1-minute commercial break. Okay, everybody. Sorry about the. Thank you very much for being patient with the commercial break. Like I typed in chat at this time, if you could shout out which organization you're with, either Black Girls Hack or Women's Society for Cyberjutsu or some other organization, please type your allegiance in chat so I can take my attendance. These organizations are happy if I let them know who came around and participated in the workshop. I see that Adu level 7 said it's okay. I hate commercials. I hate commercials too, but sometimes you have to do what you have to do. Karu747 asked a question earlier. Let me scroll up in the chat to see what the question was. Oh, was that the question about creating text files or creating other types of files? So I think if that was the question, talking about creating files with touch command or just creating files in general, most of the time you can only create text files or text-based files when you're just using the command line interface. But generally, when you're creating other types of files, you would use a program to create other types of files with different file extensions. So if you're using Word, you would use the Word program to create .docx files, or if you wanted to create PDF files, you would use some sort of image program or PDF editor to create PDF files. But generally, from the command line interface, you can only create text-based files. That's not the complete answer, but generally that's how it goes. But yeah, I see Kaoru is here, and I see that Reach L is here, and Amber Jarvie and do level 7. But thank everybody for shouting out your allegiance. And let's get into the contents of the room. Okay, so if you have not already joined the room, there should be a green join room button somewhere around the top of the TryHackMe page. So you'll want to click on that. So let me just back out of here so I can demonstrate that to you guys. I'm going to leave the room, and then I'm going to go back to the room. Okay, so to anybody who hasn't joined the room already, and if you still need the link for this particular room, please let us know in chat. So you're going to want to click on this green join room button right over here. And then I also need to reset my tasks in this room. Just a second. I'm going to reset my progress. Okay, so we're going to work through the contents of this room over here. So in the introduction here, there's just some introductory information for this particular room. We don't need to do anything in particular in this section. So all we need to do is click on the complete button over here. I do level 7 says, I heard from the grapevine, so independent. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with being independent. But yeah, if you're interested in learning about cybersecurity, please talk to me later, and I'd love to know what your journey is like for cybersecurity, and if I can help in any way, I'll give you a hand. But in task 2, so after task 1 is done, we go over to task 2, and the first thing we need to do is we need to start the machine associated with this room over here by clicking on the green start machine button over here. So just click on that, and that's going to start up the virtual machine associated with this learning module. So it's going to take about between a minute and a minute and a half to initialize over here. Rachel says, what is the link? Let me grab the link for you, and I will paste it in the chat. There you go. And it's gonna take between 60 and 90 seconds to initialize over here. So we just need to be patient. But while we're doing that, we're going to initialize the machine that we're going to be using to interact with this machine right here. So to do that, we're going to need to go back up to the top of the web page, and we're going to need to click on this button right here, which is labeled Start Attack Box. So click on Start Attack Box, and that's going to start up another virtual machine that we're going to be logging into this machine from. So I do level 7 says appreciated. I did THM part 2 already. I'm starting part 3. Haven't done it. Took notes, but all right. That's just fine. You can treat, if you'd like, you can treat this workshop as kind of a review of what you learned in that workshop, and feel free to just play around with the terminal over here to see if you can become more familiar with the Linux commands. So after you've clicked on Start Attack Box, the window tab is going to split into 2 panes. So there's going to be this left-hand side over here, which is the TryHackMe website, and the right-hand side over here is going to be the Attack Box virtual machine. So we're going to have to wait a little bit for this to initialize. But if you've finished initializing your Attack Box over here, and you see the desktop up here, please type in the chat Attack Box done with a smiley face. Or if you're on Twitch, you can use the OS frog emote to show a little frog emote. So while this is loading over here, we can go down inside of the web page, and this is basically talking about SSH. And because we're going to be using SSH to access the virtual machine in just a little bit. Nice Froggy Adieu level 7. All right, so we see that the attack box over here is finished initializing. So what we really want is for the attack box to be in its own browser tab, and we can do that by clicking on this button right here, which is labeled View in Full Screen. So we're going to click on that, and that's going to bring the browser tab into full screen, so that this virtual machine is much less cramped. So we're inside this terminal here. We can press Enter to dismiss this terminal window, and then we can go back to our TryHackMe web page, and we can click on this button right here to exit the split view. And once we exit the split view, then this view is going to disappear, and then we're going to have our attack box in one browser tab, and we're going to have our TryHackMe web page in the other browser tab. So everybody, so if you have your attack box up and running, please type attack box up in the chat. So remember, click on this button over here, View in Full Screen, to put the attack box in its own browser tab, and then click on this button, Exit Split View, to make the TryHackMe web page full screen again. Orange You Gladiator, that's a great name. But thank you very much for letting us know that your attack box is up. Great, great, great. Okay, so this today's lesson might go a little long. If you need to leave before the workshop is done, I totally understand. We're probably going to go until 20 minutes after, but I hope you can stick around till the end. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to access the VM associated with this room with our attack box. So using our attack box, what I want you to do is open up a terminal window. So there are 1, 2, 3 shortcuts to open up a terminal window in the attack box. Click on any one of them, and it's going to open up a terminal over here. We need to go back to the TryHackMe page, and then we need to copy the target IP address right here. So click on that to copy it to the clipboard. Then go back to the attack box and do SSH. And then, what is the name of the user for this box? I need to go look that up right now. Okay, so SSH TryHackMe at the IP address. So it's TryHackMe at. So back at the attack box, TryHackMe at, and then use the keyboard shortcut Control-Shift-V to paste in the IP address after you've copied it. Alternatively, inside of task 2, there's going to be this line right here, which you can copy directly over here. So SSH TryHackMe at IP address. So run the command, and then it's going to say, are you sure you want to continue connecting? Say yes, and then it's going to ask you for a password. So the password for this is also TryHackMe. So inside of here, when it asks you for the password, type in TryHackMe. Okay, so everybody, so the goal right now is to get everybody logged in to TryHackMe at Linux 2 over here. Edusa level 7 said it is case sensitive. True, all these passwords are going to be case sensitive. Malison, the TryHackMe room link has a paywall for me. That is I'm actually kind of disappointed that TryHackMe has decided to do this, but TryHackMe has been deciding to paywall some of the rooms that were previously free, but they've made them pay only for new members. So that's I'm actually kind of that's kind of upsetting, but I'm sorry. Sorry to hear that, Malison. But yeah, give me a message after, and let me see if I can provide you with some other resources for learning about Linux. Okay, so everybody, if you're able to log into the Linux 2 machine as a TryHackMe user, please type in all logged in the chat. And while we're waiting for everybody to get logged in, I'm going to run another commercial break for about a minute. So see you in about 60 seconds. Okay, so we are back. All right, so under task 2, what we need to do is click on the complete button over here. And that's the end of task 2. So task 3 is introduction to flags and switches. So basically we've covered all of the we've covered the basic information about flags and switches previously. So basically you can use flags and switches to modify the output of commands. And it also talks about the manual page over here. So that for the sake of brevity, because we've covered this already, let's just answer the questions under task 3. So explore the manual page of the ls command. We can just click on complete. And then it asks, what directional arrow would we use to navigate down the manual page? We've also done this. The answer for that is the down arrow key. And then the next question is, what flag would we use to display the output in a human readable way? So this is talking about the ls command. And the answer for this is the -h flag. So in all reality, I don't see very much difference when we use the -h flag as opposed to anything else when we're talking about the ls command. Let me demonstrate. So over here, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. So if we do ls and then we do ls-h, you don't really see much of a difference over here. You see more of a difference between ls-l and then ls-lh. Actually, you don't see any difference at all. Okay. So there is a slight difference when it displays large numbers, I guess, but it's not much of a difference. Okay, so sorry, let's move on. Okay, let's do task 4, file interaction continued. So this is talking about most of the commands we covered in our pre-study portion. It's talking about the following commands over here: the touch command, the make directory command, the copy command, the move command, the remove command or delete command, and the file command. Actually, we've used the file command before. We can use the file command to identify what kind of file a particular file is. So because we've already covered these, we've covered this in the pre-study portion, we can move on to the end of this section. But if you would like, you can come back to this section and read a little bit more about these commands. It gives a little more detail than what I provided to you. But let's answer the questions. So the first question is, how would you create a file named new node? So I'll give people in chat a few seconds to answer what they think is the answer for this particular question. How do you create the file named new node? So keep in mind that this could be just a blank file. So which command did we cover that creates empty files? So the answer over here, it's going to be touch. Remember that the touch command can be used to create empty files, and it's going to be new note. So Malison says touch new file. I guess it would be touch new note, but very good, Malison. All right, so that is the answer. Click on submit, and that is correct. On the deployable machine, what is the file type of unknown1 in TryHackMe's home directory? Okay, so if you please use your attack box and try to determine what kind of file type the unknown1 file is. Does anybody know which? Does anybody know what command you would use to determine what kind of file a particular file is? So inside of here, there's a file called unknown1 over here. We can use a command to determine what kind of contents that file has inside of it. What is the command we would use? So I didn't go into it in depth, but you can use the file command to identify the contents of a particular file. So if we were to use the file command to identify the contents of this file, the answer is ASCII text. So ASCII is a character encoding type, and it's basically all early computers used ASCII encoding to print out their numbers and letters. So the answer is ASCII text. So let's go back and provide that as the answer. Okay, the next question is, how would we move the file myFile to the directory myFolder? So this is a question about using the move command. What is the syntax? So it's going to be move mv, and then is it the file name first or the directory name first? Richel says touch. I'm not too sure what that's a reference to. Okay, so the Adu level 7 says MV. Okay, so the answer is MV. And the order that you have to use in this case is the name of the file. So it's my file, and then the name of the folder or directory. Mellison says file name first. That's correct. So it's the name of the file, and then the name of the folder. And you can submit that as the answer. Adu level 7 has the correct order. Thank you very much. Okay, so the next question is, what are the contents of this file? So let's read this file. So it's going to be the my file. If you have the answer for what are the contents of this file, please paste it into the chat to let us know that you've accessed it. So access the my file. So remember that we use the cat command to read any particular files. So cat my file is going to give you the flag THM file system. So we can copy this and then use the keyboard shortcut Control-Shift-C to copy it. And then we can go back to the TryHackMe webpage and then paste this in. And this is going to be the answer. So Adu level 7 says cat. That's a great cat emoji. If you're on Twitch, you can use the cool cat emote or the DX cat emote, and they're all great. They're all great cat emojis. Okay, so the last question is continue to apply your knowledge, and just click on complete, and that's going to complete the task over there. All right. So next is we're talking about permissions. So an important thing to understand about the Linux file system is that each file and directory has its own file permissions. So I've got a very short couple of slides talking about that over here. So we're talking about file permissions. If we use ls with the -L flag, then we're going to be able to see the file permissions in the output. So each file in the Linux file system has different read R, write W, and execute X permissions, depending on whether a user is 1, the file owner, 2, part of a certain group, or 3, any other user. So we've got this this file called shared.txt. If we take a look at the file permissions over here, it's got RWX in all 3 of these sections, which means that the file owner, the people inside of the its group, and the people, and then any other user, all have read, write, and execute permissions for this particular file over here. If we take a look at this test1.txt file, then the first section is read and write. So the file owner can do read and write. The person inside of the group can do read only, and any other user can only do read only for this particular file. So there's a lot more to know about Linux file permissions, but basically you just need. So the first thing you need to know is that not every user has read, write, or execute access to any other file or directory. Okay, so let's move on over to back to the TryHackMe web page over here. So permissions 101. If you want to know a bit more about file permissions, you can always read the text under task 5 over here. But I'm just going to quickly skip over it. But it does cover another important concept in this section, talking about switching users. So let's talk about that briefly before we dive into that. So the su command, or switch user command, is used to switch between active user accounts during a CLI session. So when using the su command, switch user command, the password of the user account being accessed must be entered. So for example, if you were to su to the root user, you would have to provide a password, and after that you would be running in the context of the root user. So back over at the TryHackMe webpage, we have they want us to switch over to user 2 using the su command. Just a second, I have to cough. Sorry about that. Okay. All right, so they want us to switch user using the what is the password for user 2? Let me. Okay, it's at the bottom over here. Hold on. They mentioned the password for user 2. Does anybody? Okay. Switch over to user 2 using the password user 2. Sorry about that, everybody. So on the deployable machine, so we're going to answer some questions over here. On the deployable machine, who is the owner of the important file over here? So remember that when you're looking at file permissions with the ls command, the first name that you're going to see over here is the owner of the file, and the second name that you're going to see is the name of the group that the file belongs to. So this is the first name is the owner of the file. The second is the group that the file belongs to. So if we take a look at this file over here, we're taking a look at the important file over here. Who is the file owner of this particular file? Okay, the answer is user 2, because that's basically the only username that is associated over there. All right, so let's use that as the answer. User 2. And what would the command be to switch to the user 2? Okay, so does anybody know? Can anybody guess which command we would use to switch over to user 2? Orange Gladiator says SU user 2. That is completely correct. Okay, so SU user 2. Okay, now switch to this user 2 using the password user 2. Okay, so we're going to click on that as complete, and then we're going to move over to the attack box, and then we're going to use this command to switch over to user 2. So everybody, remember, it's SU for switch user, and then the name of the user account. And remember that user2's password is also user2. Okay, so whereas previously we were acting as the TryHackMe user, now that we've used SU user2, we've switched over to user2's user account over here. Okay, so if we do who am I, it says we're user2. All right, and the last thing that we need to do is output the contents if important. What is the flag? So now that we're user2, we can access user2's files. So let's read the important file. This one right here. Does anybody remember what command we used to read this file? I think this is kind of it's a bit of an easy question. Orange Gladiator says R. Edu level 7 says cat. Okay, so this is the command that we're going to be using to read the file. It's the important file. And another thing that we should that is very important when you're typing in file names is that you can use the tab button to autocomplete the names of long files, just in case, and it's going to save you a lot of time. So cap, and then start to type the word important, and then type tab, and that's going to autocomplete the file name. Okay, and this is the flag that we're going to be using to answer the question. THMSU user2. Use the Control-Shift-C keyboard shortcut to copy that, and then move back to the TryHackMe webpage and paste it in. So Control-V to paste it in, click on Submit. Okay, so the last thing we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about some common directories. So let's talk about some of the common directories inside of Linux. Let's go back to our presentation. So we're talking about some noteworthy Linux file directories. Okay, so we're not going to be talking about every directory inside of the file system, but some interesting directories include the /etc directory. Some people call this the etc directory. Some people call it the etc directory, but this is where system files and user passwords are stored. So that's the etc directory. Next is the var directory. So the var directory is where log files and database files are stored. Var stands for variable. Rachel says user2. Rachel, I get the feeling that that you might be watching a little bit desynced from the rest of us. If that's so, that's completely fine. All right, so the /var directory is where log files and database files are stored. Var stands for variable, and so a lot of the times when you want to host a web server, you put files in the var directory inside of the var ht www directory. So that's just something to understand about the var directory. It's where you store log files and databases. So the next is the root directory. The root directory is the home directory of the root user, and it's typically the folder with the most secure access, because only the root user is able to access that directory. Notably, when you're doing cybersecurity, when you're dealing with cybersecurity exercises where the goal is to take over the system, then your flag files are usually going to be inside of this directory as well, the root directory. Next is the TMP directory. So the TMP directory stands for temporary, and all files here are deleted on a regular basis. So this is where files this is where programs store temporary files that it is okay with having deleted when the system is powered off or restarted. So you can think of the temporary directory, the temp directory, as kind of like computer volatile memory, like random RAM memory or computer temporary storage, in that when the system is powered off, then everything inside of this directory or everything inside of temporary storage is deleted. And lastly is the home directory, where individual user account files are stored. So inside of if you're working day to day inside of your Linux file system, then the home directory is where each user typically is able to store their own files. And in a lot of cases, the system administrators don't like it when users put anything outside of their home directory, because it kind of clutters up the file system. Okay, so let's finish up the TryHackMe room. Okay, so in task 6 over here, this talks about all the directories that we were talking about just now, but it gives a little bit more detail. And if you're interested, you can go back to the section and read about it. But for now, we're going to answer these questions. So it says, README, click on complete. The next question is, what is the directory path that we expect logs to be stored in? Okay, so we were just talking about this. So suppose that the second part of this is going to be log. Which part of which directory were we just talking about, typically where logs are stored? Does anybody remember? Okay, Orangey Gladiator says var, and that is the correct answer. So the answer here would be /var/log, and that is the correct answer. So don't worry about root directory here, but just which directory is similar to how RAM on a computer works. Does anybody remember which directory contains information that is temporary and is deleted when the computer is restarted or shut down? Okay, Malison says temp. Okay, so that is indeed the answer. So it's going to be /tmp for temp. Okay, and lastly, name the home directory of the root user. So this one is very on the nose. What is the home directory of the root user, also known as the most secure directory on the file system? And also where you usually find flags in capture the flag cybersecurity exercises. Okay, I do level 7 and Orangey Gladiator are both correct. It is the /root directory. Okay, it says, now apply your learning and navigate through these directories on the deployed Linux machine. Okay, we don't need to do that. We just need to click on complete. All right, so conclusions and summaries. We don't need to, it just talks about everything we learned about today. All you need to do is click on the button to complete it. And then Linux Fundamentals Part 3, this is just an advertisement to move on to the next room. We can do that a little bit later. You just need to click on complete and then click on the last complete button over here. And we are finished with this room. Okay, so everybody, if you completed the room, please type room complete in the chat. And Malison, yeah, give me a private message, and if you want to talk about learning about more Linux command line stuff, or if you want to talk about beginner cybersecurity stuff, I'd be happy to talk. All right, so thank you very much, everybody. Before you go, we need to do some. Orangey Gladiator is now a HackerFrog. Thank you very much, Orangey Gladiator. We need to distribute some surveys. So if you're part of Black Girls Hack, I do level 7. How do we contact you? LinkedIn. You can contact me on Reddit. We have a Reddit page. Reddit HackerFrogs. You can find me on there, and you can send me a private message on Reddit if you like. But if you're part of Black Girls Hack, please fill in the following survey. And if you're part of Women's Society of Cyberjutsu, please use this following survey. So Rachel says, I was not able to log into the TryHackMe room, yet took notes during this presentation. Please note on my account name is... okay. Thank you very much, Reach L. But if you were unable to access the TryHackMe room because it was paywalled, please let me know, because I'd very much like to adjust my course content if it's not available for free, because I work very hard to try to only use content that is free to everybody. But let's do a short summary of what we learned in today's workshop. We learned about the help flag, which can be used to return a brief explanation of how to use the command, the man command, the and operator, the double and operator, the greater than operator, double greater than. Okay, so we covered a lot today. If you have any questions about any of the commands that we covered in today's workshop, go ahead and type in chat. But next week we're going to be covering the last one of these Linux OS operations workshops. We're going to be covering, hold on. We're going to be covering the Linux Fundamentals Part 3 room. And Malison, if you're still here, please let us know if you can access this room or whether or not it's paywalled for you, because I'd very much like to try to avoid using rooms that are paywalled in future workshops. Hold on. So to everybody here also, okay, Mellison3 says it is paywalled. I'm gonna have to find some other resources for teaching Linux OS operations then. So Adu7 says that it should be free. The whole beginner one is. Like, scroll to the bottom. Yeah, do level 7. There have been other instances where TryHackMe has been paywalling stuff for new users that is free for other users. So it's kind of it's a practice that I really don't like, but they've done it with other rooms before. But I do level 7 if you'd like to contact to message me about cybersecurity stuff, you can always do it over at Reddit. I am the Shy Hat over there. You/the Shy Hat. Yeah, you can just give me a private message over there. I'd love to talk to you about cybersecurity and where you are in your cybersecurity journey. But yeah, that's all we have for today's workshop. Thank you very much, everybody, for being patient with me through my technical difficulties, and to the people who were not able to access the materials because of paywalling. I'm very sad to hear about that. But we're gonna be back next week, doing the last installment of Linux OS operations, and we're also going to be doing some extra exercises using the PicoCTF, platform as well. So PicoCTF is another great cybersecurity education platform, and it is completely free. Unlike TryHackMe, which has some stuff that is free and some stuff that is behind the paywall. But on Wednesday, we're going to be going over some PicoCTF exercises. It's a great opportunity to become more practiced at using the Linux OS command line interface. And yeah, hope to see you there. But if not, we also have a new program coming up at the beginning of June. And so let me show you over at the Reddit page, Python programming. So we're going to be doing Python programming as our next scheduled course. That's going to be running from June 3rd to July 2nd of this year. It's going to be 8 total sessions, and we're going to be going through Python programming. And it's going to be a very it's going to be an interactive and hands-on experience, and we're going to be running through each one of these concepts inside of the Python programming language one at a time, beginning with stuff like using Python to do the hello world program and variables and data types, and then we're going to be moving on week by week until we hit 8 weeks, at which point we should be able to code small programs. If you're ever curious about programming languages and you ever thought that it's really intimidating, I assure you that if you were to be exposed to it for a long enough time and you were to experiment with that, it's really not so hard. Karu747 says it's through 22nd of July. Is that correct? Yes. So it's going to run from June 3rd, which is 2 weeks from now, and it's going to go until the 22nd of July. But all right. Thank you very much to everybody for watching today. If you have any questions, or if you want to talk about beginner cybersecurity, you can always go to the Reddit. Let me just grab the link for that for you one more time. You said 2nd July. Oh, sorry. It's 2nd of June. 2nd of June? No. It's July 22nd is the end date, and 3rd of June is the start date. I'm sorry if there was any confusion there. But yeah, everybody have a great rest of the week, and we're going to be back on Wednesday. We're also going to be doing an extra hacking session on Friday, late night, and we're going to be talking about the Hack the Box platform over there. To anybody who's ever wanted to try using Hack the Box, we're going to be going through the very beginner modules over at Hack the Box, which is a different thing than TryHackMe, but it's this website right here, hackthebox.eu. Huh, that's strange. I do level 7 says, is there a Discord too or just Reddit? We're planning on doing a Discord channel a little later, but for right now we're just using Reddit. But yeah, I'd love to have a conversation with you all if you message me on Reddit. But until next week, I hope you have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you next time. Have a great week, everybody.